The journalism skills Jolene Kramer honed at COD have taken her far. Jolene credits her COD professors who challenged her and prepared her for her work in the real world.
What I see in her is someone who is incredibly passionate about what she does. She has a standard of excellence that I've never seen in this industry, and she has the enthusiasm and energy like no other.
The former Courier student newspaper editor completed an associate in art degree at COD and a bachelor's degree in journalism at Northern Illinois University. She worked for more than 20 years as an award-winning reporter and editor at various newspapers. Then, Jolene took her talents in a new direction, using her skills to serve in a number of creative roles. Currently, Jolene is the PR, Communications, and Marketing Director at the American Society for Dermatologic Surgery, where she led the effort to launch a new website design and earn numerous honors for her work.
She's by far the most excellent communicator I've come across, and it's because she is able to grasp the message of the organization and really translate it in a way that speaks to a variety of audiences, which we have to do on a daily basis. I think the most remarkable quality that Jolene possesses is her tenacity for perfection. She goes to the ends of the earth to really produce quality work. It's not surprising to me that she would be recognized in this way. I think Jolene, she's constantly pushing herself to be the best.
Jolene's ability to capitalize on her skills, turning her talents into powerful tools for advocacy and community involvement, demonstrate a spirit to achieve new heights, a quality that makes Jolene Kramer a distinguished alum.
Thank you, College of DuPage. I wouldn't be here today without COD. When I was in high school, my first week of my junior year, I took a journalism class, and I knew from that moment that that's what I wanted to do. And I started reading the want-ads, and you had to have a bachelor's degree to apply to be a newspaper reporter anywhere, even the little weeklies in the suburbs. So I knew I wanted a bachelor's degree. But my parents hadn't gone to college. I was the oldest of four, and there was no money to send me away to school. So I knew I was going to have to find my own way. And I knew the College of DuPage was my choice. I knew I could figure it out money-wise by living at home and paying the tuition and getting a summer job, that I could get my Associate of Arts degree here and then figure out loans and graduate with a bachelor's degree in journalism at NIU. And I did that. I walked in here. It wasn't here. It was the A building, where long since demolished apparently. 1978, I graduated, so I started here in 1976. A lot of the students sitting around me in my classes were Vietnam veterans returning from the war. Here I am, a 17-year-old from Lyle High School. It was a unique experience. And I knew I wanted to do journalism, so about a week after I was here, I walked over to the Courier newspaper. We were in the barn back then. I don't know if anybody remembers the barn, but it was really a barn. It was a farmer's field, and the barn was there, and they made it the Courier office. There was no running water in the barn, so if you could use the bathroom, you had to get your coat on, walk about a football field over to the A building, hope it was still open, use the bathroom, and then head back. Advertising was on the first floor, editorial was on the second floor. I waited about a week before I went over there, and all the good assignments were already gone. I walked in and I said, I want to be a reporter for this newspaper. And Gordy Richmond was the newspaper advisor, and he wasn't going to turn away a wannabe reporter. He was going to make sure I walked out with an assignment, so I was engaged. Because if I didn't walk out that day with an assignment, I might not come back. So I think I got the bottom of the barrel assignment, but it changed my life, and I want to tell you that story. He sent me to cover a Wheaton Historical Society 2-hour talk on the search for the Holy Grail. I didn't even know what the Holy Grail was. This was long before Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail. This was long before the internet. It was a Sunday afternoon talk, And my story was due on Monday morning. I sat there 2 hours of not knowing what they were even talking about. I took notes like crazy, got home that night, libraries weren't open on Sunday, there was no internet. I wrote the worst story I've ever written in my life. I wrote basically that the Wheaton Historical Society met and talked about the search for the Holy Grail, and in 2 weeks they're going to meet about this and they're going to talk about this. I wrote a press release. I didn't write a news story at all. And the next morning I turned it in, and Gordy said, Jolene, come on over here. And he told me exactly what I already knew, that I had written a press release, not a news story. And he said, why, what's up here? And I said, I didn't understand it. I didn't know what they were saying. And he goes, do you have your notes? And of course I had my notes. I had taken tons of notes. I just didn't know what they said. Well, luckily he knew what the Holy Grail was. And we went through my notes and we crafted a news story together. And that story changed my life because I realized I didn't know anything. I didn't know all the things I was going to need to know to be a journalist. So I changed my schedule starting the next quarter, and I took politics and local government and microeconomics and macroeconomics and every course I could get my hand on that was going to teach me about how to write about court systems and tax levies and teacher contract talks and all the things I wrote about for the next 25 years for newspapers in Downers Grove, Darien, Romeoville, Naperville, Aurora, Decatur, kind of all over the place. But I rose and I would walk into situations where I knew I didn't know anything, and because of that story was my Holy Grail. I found it by learning that I didn't know anything and that I was going to need to know things to be a journalist. And so I took that experience and changed my life in one day. I have 2 other teachers I need to compliment or talk about for just a moment. One is Ada D. Wheeler. I took her history classes summer back to back to back. So I was with her 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. for 3 weeks, then 3 more weeks, and then 3 more weeks. And you know what? You get to know a teacher really well when you spend all day with them for 9 weeks in a row to get a year of history done in summer school. And there was only a small group of us in those classes, and she cared about me. She made it so that I felt empowered as a woman to go out into the workplace. Women didn't go out in the workplace as much in the 1970s with college degrees. Only 50% of women, I checked this stat before I came here tonight, went to college in 1976. My friends, most of them did not go to college. Most of my high school class didn't go to college. I came here and went to Northern because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And Ada D. Wheeler encouraged me every day in that history class, during breaks, at the end of class, to tell me that I could do it. The other teacher I need to talk about for just a second is Frank Hester. He was a philosophy teacher here, and he found out about the 2nd or 3rd day of class that I was the editor of the Courier, and he picked on me. As in, he would teach a class, about 10 minutes before it was over, he would say, okay, Jolene, would you please get up here and summarize everything that I just said to the class? I would get up there and he would say, I'm not joking, please get up here and summarize the day's lesson. And he would stop class and point to me and ask me pointed questions the entire class, to the point where people in the class were going to him saying, why are you picking on her like that? What is it about her that you're doing that? And he said, you can't leave me alone. I'm teaching the class. This is how I want to teach the class. I went into his office after the class was over and I said, what was that about? And he told me that he found out that I was editor of the Courier and that I was going to be a journalist. And he said, I wanted you to be prepared for anything. I wanted you to know that you can do these things, that you can be put on the spot and handle it. And he told me that he had done that on my behalf. I didn't know it at the time, so it was a little awkward. But I appreciated Frank Hester, and I remember that class to this day. So Ada D. Wheeler and Frank Hester and Gordy Richmond, thank you for setting me on the course. I do want to tell one quick story about my legacy to the College of DuPage. It's kind of an amusing one. I was taking biology my sophomore year when I was editor of the paper, and in biology class you had to dissect a frog. They took one out of the freezer and they handed it to you. These weren't little frogs, these were like this big with the legs and the bodies this big, so you could dissect it. So it thaws, they hand it to you, but COD did not have a refrigeration unit. So you had to put them in a bag, they gave you a special bag, and you had to take it home and put it in your mom's refrigerator, and then bring it back to class the next time to work on it and dissect it some more. So, I wasn't going home though after class. I was going to the barn to work at the Courier. And so I would park my frog in the Courier refrigerator. Well, this was the 1970s. I like to think it's the origin of the phrase, reporters can smell a story. Because we artfully arranged that frog in the refrigerator on the pop cans around several people's lunches with the mouth open and the closed, and we ran pictures in the paper and wrote a story about the fact that biology students watch for those bags because those are frogs. Stay away from the frog bag, people. And the next quarter, we were on the quarter system, COD got refrigeration units. So that's my legacy to all biology students here. No, I do want to end by thanking everyone here, and I really don't feel like a distinguished alum when I hear the accomplishments of my fellow nominees and awardees here. I want to thank my family and friends who are here tonight to support me, and all of you. Thank you.
Our next nominee is George Match.